Hey everybody, day 2 of making videos from my new, what do I call this place? Is it my home? When you move around as much as I do, home takes on a weird meaning. I used to say home is where the computer is. That's back when I had a desktop machine. I was probably more tech-centric back then. Now my tech is much better and I'm much less identified with it. Anyway. Here's a picture of a place I've been to twice now. I'm a coffee drinker, but when I was at home in Vermont, I would drink quarter calf coffee. I'd make a full pot every morning, but it would be, 1/4 caffeinated coffee, three-quarters decaf. But whenever I travel, I just get back on the hard stuff again. I'm on the hard stuff now, but I don't drink as much of it, particularly when it's not available at home and I have to go to a place like this donut shop to get it. And it's not available at home because even though I've got my coffee maker set up in my mom's kitchen, the carafe is packed in a box somewhere in the storage facility on the other side of town. But it's really nice to go and sit in that donut place because nobody eats in there. Nobody sits in there. Most of the business comes through the drive-through window. But there's quite a bit. There was a steady stream of walk-in business this morning. And it was really noteworthy to me because the couple that I guess owns the place, they're an Asian couple. And I don't know what language they speak, but when they speak to each other, it's clearly in I would say a southeastern Asian language. I would guess somewhere on the peninsula that used to be called Indochina. Laos, Cambodia, or Vietnam, because it's not Thai. I've spent enough time in Thailand to recognize Thai. I've watched enough Korean TV to recognize Korean. I speak some Japanese. It clearly wasn't Japanese. Didn't sound like Mandarin to me, even though, that's the one that I'm least qualified to identify by ear. So I'm guessing they're from Indochina, formerly Indochina. But they're clearly immigrants. I've spoken to both of them. Their English is really basic when speaking, but the customers who come in, and there's a steady stream of customers, and they're people from Arkansas of all ages, and they have pretty thick Arkansas accents, and they can understand their customers just fine. They interact with them just fine. There's no trouble communicating. But what I notice is just the stark difference between the reality of their situation, of their interactions with their customers, and the picture of this part of the world that I get from the New York Times or Twitter or CNN, or any of the mainstream outlets that present the world via the corporate media or via the Silicon Valley mediated vision of reality. I'm reminded of a tweet from a woman, and I wasn't following her, but Twitter loves to put things in front of me that I don't like, even though I'm not subscribed to the people who are putting this stuff out. But it was from an Asian woman, young Asian woman in San Francisco. And, well, hello, Mr. Dog. Here's a dog. Are you friendly? I'm friendly. All right, you're cautious. That's all right. That's all right. Anyway. This young Asian woman in San Francisco, her family was coming to visit, and she was going to rent an RV, which tells you a little something about her economic status, that and the fact she lives in San Francisco, to take her family to see the Grand Canyon. And she was posting to her Twitter people saying, do you think it's safe for an RV full of Asians to drive from San Francisco to the Grand Canyon in an RV? Subtext I took to be, or will the vicious, mean-spirited, white supremacist, red state, savages just tear us to pieces as soon as we step out of the RV? I interacted with her in response to that. I shouldn't have. I should have just screenshotted that, filed it away as blue state bigotry, and moved on. Oh, by the way, this barn back here, that's my mom's barn. That's the good barn. That's the, the one that's in good shape. It's mostly full of hay, but we moved some furniture in there the other night. So these are my mom's cows in the background here. The bad bull that gets out, he's down here in this herd. Anyway, that's the view. That's the Silicon Valley, Twitter, Facebook, the crew. That's their view of the red states and the red state savages. So I'm sitting in the donut place today, and here's this Asian couple, and they have a young baby too. And in the very early morning hours, they have a local, young white guy who comes in. He's totally tatted up and clearly a local. I exchanged words with him this morning. He's definitely a local. And he mans the drive-through window at the busiest part of the early morning, but then I guess he's only there a couple hours, and he leaves about the time I'm getting there. But then a steady stream of customers come in, and they interact with this, this clearly immigrant couple. Here I am in the South. And the men, if they're talking to the woman, they call her ma'am. They're all very polite to her. They're just very cordial. People passing each other will say good morning. A man held the door open for a woman, and she said, "Thank you, sir." And he greeted her friend. A lot of them will greet me, ask me how I'm doing. It's just a very polite, friendly, civilized, welcoming environment here. And it's just so at odds with the presentation of the people who live in this part of the country. These are the evil MAGA people. These are the vile, deplorable Trump supporters. And the portrayal of them by the elites is that they hate immigrants, they hate foreigners, xenophobic, to the bone, ready to do violence to people who aren't like them. And it's just so at odds with the on-the-ground reality here. More cows. All right, I had to stop talking because I was walking uphill and breathing hard. But now I'm at the top of the hill. Here, let me flip the camera around, show you what I see. All right, surprise, surprise, it's a cow pasture. But it's also quite the vista. If I could get up before sunrise some morning and come up here, this would be a great sunrise view. But down there in the distance, here, let me see if I can zoom in. There's like a housing subdivision down there. The last time I was up on this ridge, it was all just more fields. So this place is growing. Maybe not booming, but over the decades it is growing.